Okay, so it's time to get started. Again, my name is Steve Newell, and I'm from Cloud Consult. And Cloud Consult is your contact center technology scout. And I say that because I'm always looking for areas where we can improve our contact centers. And I met with Allison from the IVR Voice, and as soon as she starts speaking, you're going to be amazed. You're going to think you know her, and you've known her for many, many years. And so I'm very excited to introduce Allison Smith from the IVR Voice. She is an internationally recognized professional voice talent. She voices telephone systems, IVRs, AI, and call center prompts. And you've heard her voice on Cisco, Mitel, ShoreTel, Bell Canada, Verizon, Sprint, and Sangoma and the Asterisk Open Source PBX. So if you are alive and you've ever made a phone call, you have heard Allison. And Allison also speaks and blogs about improving the customer experience, and she serves as a consultant and advisor on IVR projects. Her clients include PetSmart, Samsung, NASA, 3M, Pfizer, Toyota, Royal Caribbean and State Farm, among many, many others. Her website is www.theivrvoice.com. Welcome, Allison.
Well, thank you, Steve. What an intro. Wow, no pressure.
Um, so just a couple of questions to get us kind of warmed up before you go into your presentation. And we don't really think about IVR a whole lot. We kind of think that's not, is it, how important is it really? But what are some of the big fatal mistakes that typical call centers make with a call center IVR that we're not even aware of?
Mm. Well, to answer that, it's actually quite easy for you to think about the last time you yourself called into a company. I try not to actually make too many phone calls. I actually really hate talking on the phone, which is strange because I make my living voicing phone prompts. But the last time you called into a company, especially a bigger organization, and you encountered way too many choices. So, for example, they have something like 12 options in their IVR. It's way too many for the typical human brain to remember. So, I always urge people to keep it to about 4 or 5 choices off the very top. So that would be a huge mistake that people make. And I actually did just voice an IVR that had literally 12 options.
Mhm.
It's just too much for the typical brain to process. The other thing is if there are choices that are too similar. So I don't know if you've been in that position to call a company and you're sort of thinking, okay, well, what I'm calling in is a little bit about this, but
Right, right.
option
Which one
number
do I
two could
choose?
also be it. Yeah. And we have this fear that if we choose the wrong option, we might be transferred to another department or have to go through the whole process again.
I do
So you're
that. I
nodding. I
live
think we
through
both.
all the time. Yep, yep.
Absolutely. So that would be a classic mistake that people try to include too many departments, or they make the caller choose from too many sub menus. So if you choose, for example, technical support, they'll have another menu that says for this specific support for that. And yeah, you shouldn't make the caller drill too far into too many sub menus, if that
Mhm,
makes sense. Yeah.
mhm.
hmm
Okay. So what can you do with an IVR to really improve the customer experience?
Yeah, I always urge clients, and luckily, a lot of my clients are now asking for my input, and this is how I sort of got into consulting in IVR as well as voicing it. Many of my clients will submit a script and they'll ask my opinion, and almost always it comes down to respecting the caller's time, which is very limited, and their patience, also very limited. So if you can make the process as concise and as simple and as intuitive to use, you're way ahead of the game. It's when the caller feels as though their time is being wasted or that they've had to carve out all of this time on the phone call. and they're just getting nowhere. They're just going around and around. That's when an IVR becomes problematic. So writing it with that sensibility that people's time and patience is in limited supply is a good way to approach an IVR. Just think about that last time that you had to sit on the phone and go, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe they're asking for my PIN number again." I recently called my bank and literally I was asked twice to supply my secret PIN number, both as a key put, sort of an input with the keypad, and also with the live agent as well. So stuff like that makes callers very frustrated. And we don't want to do that. It's counterintuitive.
Right, right, right. And it just shows, I mean, these guys don't have their act together. I mean, if I gave it, it should be presented to the agent. Why
Yes,
is it not? And then all of a sudden there's doubts in your head, like, you
absolutely.
guys know what they're
Absolutely.
doing? Okay. Yeah. And you said in blog articles that the call center customer, somebody who calls into a call center is different than somebody who, is an online customer.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So basically, I think most of us are really accustomed to coming up with a solution on our own. So if we're interested in interacting with a company, almost always we'll go to the website and try to find a solution there, either by their, FAQ page, or if they have a chat bot, you can interact with that. But I always tell people when they're writing an IVR script to realize that probably if somebody is picking up the phone to call a company, especially a large company where they might have a large call center, uh, that means that customer has a very, very specific problem. And it might be a little sticky. And there's a good chance that the customer might actually be irate or escalated because they've been working on this problem for a while. So if IVRs were constructed with that in mind, realizing that this customer has been through the process and is trying to find a solution and needs to get to a live agent in the quickest, most efficient way. Time is of the essence. So if you can use up less of their time with the IVR choices and get them directly to the live help they need, the better it is, especially if you're talking about the medical industry, if somebody is in medical distress, that sort of thing. I always tell the story of voicing an IVR for a cardiology clinic, and that was one of the places that had something like 12 choices in their IVR. And the very last option was, if this is a medical emergency, hang up and dial 911. I know that was the very last choice. And it's like, no, if somebody's made the mistake and called their cardiologist and they're having chest pains, let's get them help sooner than later. So yeah, I got them to rearrange that to the top of the IVR.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right. Okay. So I know I know you have a brief presentation to show us about what you do and how you do it. And so I'll let you go ahead. I'll let you take the screen over and
Okay. We'll see if we can get this to go from the beginning. There we go.
yeah.
Oh, we love it when it works. Okay, hopefully you're seeing the first slide there.
Yes.
Yes. So, as Steve introduced me, I'm Allison and I live in lovely Calgary, Alberta, right there. This is how I look most of the year. And in fact, I was still dressed this way last week. We had hopefully our final snowstorm, May 1st. So that's, fun times in Alberta. This is a brief demo. I'm not sure if actually it will play audio. I have a feeling it won't. Yeah, I don't think it's actually going to play that demo. But if people are interested in hearing my demos, they can just go to the ivrvoice.com. There's a bunch of different demos there. So as you mentioned, I am the voice of the Asterisk Open Source PBX. That actually kind of put me on the map with IVR voicing. Also in the open source realm, I am the voice of Sangoma, who of course purchased Digium and the Asterisk system. I'm also the voice of FreeSwitch and FreePBX. On the not so open source side, I've voiced lots of platforms for Mitel, ShoreTel, Cisco Meraki, TELUS here in Alberta, lots of really great platforms. And of course, you mentioned a few of my clients. PetSmart, I record for them every week. They're constantly closing stores, opening new stores, and I do their store finder system. So if you're looking for the PetSmart near you and you call their centralized number, you're probably going to get me. Same with Samsung. Hopefully you don't have problems with your Android, but if you do, you'll probably get me on their assistance line. So, of course, with my voice being everywhere, it's led to some weird and interesting happenings. So, I was attending a conference and I ordered one of those hotel wake up calls to make sure that my alarm went off. And it was me waking me up, which was extremely surreal, very, very strange. The other story that I usually tell is my husband downloaded a workout coach on his smartphone to sort of, keep him motivated at the gym. And the first time he used it, he came home and he said, "Guess who the voice of the coach is?" And yes, it was me literally saying, "Come on, 5 more sit-ups, you can do it." So he changed it, I think, to the Australian male because he's kind of sick of hearing me. So those of you who are attending this webinar, you probably know that when you're implementing a phone system, typically 3 things happen upon the install. Almost always the office admin gets recruited to do the opening message and the after hours greeting. Or the CEO who placed the order themselves sometimes will just find an empty boardroom and just, record directly over their phone line. And of course, I deal a lot with telephony installers who actually get drafted into voicing their customers' phone system. Steve, you're probably on numerous different phone systems. Just as sort of a stopgap measure, I'll just put this on your system and you can figure out a solution later. Sometimes people decide to go to a large voiceover agency that specializes in voice talent for phone systems. And I get a lot of customers that have done that in the previous past. And they tell me all about things like high cost, slow turnaround, sort of a complicated booking process, impersonal service, and of course, having to audition a bunch of voices, which many people don't have the patience to do. So where I come in, as we've discussed, I'm already recognizable on a bunch of different branded phone systems and platforms. I have a full-time dedication to IVR. So I do some other voiceover. Sometimes I'll do e-learning modules or the occasional commercial, but not so much anymore. IVR and call center on hold has been my focus for a number of years. With that, of course, comes reliability with fast turnaround, usually the same day if I get the order before noon my time. I have a private dedicated sound studio with no additional studio charges. My rates are competitive, and I'll talk about those in a few slides. I have a lot of versatility because my background is actually in theater. So when people want a persona on their phone system, and often they do, they want almost like a character. So I am capable of taking the phone system in a bunch of different directions depending on what you're looking for. So the challenges to anyone who is implementing a phone system, you have challenges and I have solutions. So previously, many people have had to leave their customers to look for a solution on their own, which is less than ideal. Having a built-in solution for a consistent, high-quality voice talent is a great tool in your tool belt. And of course, all phone systems are not a one and done. They will need updates and changes, especially if you're talking about a phone tree with people's names and extensions. Something like that is extremely fluid. There's a large cable company up here in Canada called Shaw, and I called in there once and counted probably about 10 different voices on their phone system because they've literally just grabbed various people in their office. So that, I think, sounds very patchwork. It sounds very thrown together and not terribly professional. So the other thing that I always ask people to remember and remind their clients of is the fact that you've put a lot of money into the design of your website, your social media, even printed materials and trade show graphics. So much thought has gone into that imaging that unfortunately the branding of the phone system seems to be left out of that messaging, and it shouldn't, because it's very, very important that the phone messaging dovetail with the image of the company in all other various platforms. So we can work together in a couple of ways. If there are people that are watching this that are interested in perhaps having a consistent voice in their call center, so you can offer me as an adjunct product sort of baked into what you do, or you refer me to the customer. If we go the first route, you would send the orders to me, I would bill you monthly, and I offer a discount for a certain threshold that's met of referrals. If you refer me to the customer and I deal with them directly, I will bill them directly. That sort of takes it out of your way. And the customer would just pay the rack rate. And the rack rate, I've just sort of to be, it's very, very transparent. And I've decided to make it almost like modules of words. So up to 50 words is 150. As you can see, it's not prohibitively expensive. 51 to 100 is 225 and so on. So I've done this because a lot of people just need something like their opening greeting redone, or a specific part of their phone menu redone. So this prevents them from having to pay a large hourly fee if they just need a little bit of update recorded. So in addition to voicing IVR, I do IVR evaluation. We discussed that a little bit, but I will go into an existing system and offer recommendations about things that probably need to be changed. And most likely it will be, as I said, abbreviating the number of choices and making it simpler to use. I also do offer script writing, although I'm kind of downstream in the process. So typically when people hire me, they already have a script written. Just in case they don't, I do offer script writing as well. On hold production, so I can write your on hold script, voice it, and mix it with royalty-free music. There's more. So Capstrol, a few years ago, Capstrol, they're out of Pittsburgh. They developed the Allison text-to-speech voice, and it's still their #1 seller. So that is available for sale, and it's good for interstitial fill-in phrases, not usually good for long stretches, but it's pretty good. The other strange product that I voiced is a names database. So believe it or not, I actually voiced 350,000 proper names to be used in an auto dial system to call people for medical appointment and dental appointment reminders. So I read 350,000 proper names, first and last names. All of that is available if any of you do any sort of outbound dialing and you want it to be personalized. I understand it's been used for bill collection and political polling and stuff like that. So it's an interesting, very strange product that I offer. So to kind of wrap things up, there's virtually no industry that I haven't voiced for: oil and gas, banking, industrial, any of it, a lot in the medical space. So regardless of the industry, I've voiced for it. And here's my my contact information, which Steve already mapped out, and that's pretty much the end of the presentation. So just let me know if there are any other questions or.
So yeah, a couple of questions here.
Yeah.
So for the on hold, so for instance, just say there's a company and they say, I'm a plumber, I'm a chiropractor, I'm a whatever, and I
Yeah.
have a brief message that I want recorded with a little music, over it, and it can, just so when somebody calls in for that chiropractor or plumber or whatever, you can say, oh, we offer service, blah, blah, blah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a pretty typical thing for you to put together.
It is. And it's interesting because on hold, I think, was extremely popular in the, the 90s and the early 2000s, and it sort of fell out of favor for a while. And I think the dream was to route people directly to live service or send them to a voicemail. But there's just so much that can be done with on hold that is so useful and such a great way to market the company. So I always tell people to use their on hold system as an opportunity to brag a little bit and to do a little bit of puffery. So it's a great opportunity while these clients are on hold to tell them about what makes the company different from competitors. What do you do differently in your industry that no one else does? You can even talk about sort of temporary specials or seasonal things that you do. I do a lot for the HVAC industry, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, and there's lots of seasonal stuff, which requires you to change up your on hold quarterly or at least half a year, which is advised just to make it sound current and stuff like that. So there's many amazing things that you can do in an on-hold system. In the medical environment, a lot of people are using it to make sure that the caller is prepared for live service. So for example, there was an X-ray and mammography clinic that I did the on hold for, and it was a lot of their phrasing was saying things like, while you're on hold, make sure you have your patient ID number and the name of the doctor you have been seeing. Asking the caller to use that time on hold to be more prepared for their live action, their live interaction with the agent is a great way to use the on hold. So I see on hold as actually coming back in popularity, and
Mhm.
I think it's a great marketing tool. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's really effective for an inbound call center. Um, uh, when a customer onboards and they say, "Hey, I'd like to play, a particular onboard or on hold message while people are waiting." Um, they don't have to go out and get it themselves and do all the research and figure it out and write the script and all. An inbound call center can say, we got you covered. I have that, it's available. Just let me set it up for you. And so it just
Absolutely,
takes
yeah.
another burden off of them.
Yeah, I mean, there was a company I did recently, and they actually hid kind of an Easter egg promo code in the on hold system. So if you'd made it through 3 or 4 paragraphs, the caller is rewarded by saying, "We really appreciate you holding. Use this promo code when the agent comes on, and you will get an extra 10% off," or something like that. So that like is a little bit of an incentive and a thank you for them holding, which is fantastic. I thought that was very imaginative as well. Also in the medical space, it can be reassuring as well. If people are calling in, trying to make an appointment for, some sort of radiology, let's say, they probably have a lot of concerns, and having a calm, reassuring tone saying that we do this all the time and this is what we do. We're experts in this field. It's just nice and reassuring for the caller. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. I mean, I laugh because, the first couple times we talked on the phone, the first moment that you started speaking, I was like, wow. I've heard this voice in my head so
I know.
many times, and it's actually very comforting because it's like,
Oh, good.
okay, we got this, it's not this
Yes.
voice that I've never heard before now, but it's like somehow in the back of my head, it's kind of like, okay, these guys know what they're
Exactly.
doing. This is, yeah, okay.
Well, what's interesting is I was coaching a young sort of up and coming voice talent, and he actually wanted to get into voicing IVR. And I tried not to discourage him, but IVR and phone systems seem to be kind of the realm of the female announcer. And I think that goes back to telephone operators. I'm not sure. I'm sure there's some psychology to it, but I'm glad it's sort of biased in my direction. But I truly love what I do. It's very, very strange when I call into a company and I get recorded me. It's just extremely strange, and especially if it's a voice recognition, text to speech type situation. I tried to order flowers for somebody, and it was me taking the order, and I was not understanding me. So I was automated. Allison said, "Where would you like to send the flowers to? What state?" And I said, "Michigan." And then I replied, "Okay, I think you said Montana." And it's like, no, why are you not understanding me? I'm you. You're me. I should be in
Oh,
therapy probably for
oh
this.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
a totally different webinar.
It
Um,
totally is. Yeah.
the names database is very intriguing. So basically you've recorded like Bob, Jim, John, Jane, Joan,
Yep.
and then all the last names as well. And basically, people,
Yeah.
it's a database that you can mix and match the names
Absolutely.
to
Yeah.
outbound appointment confirmation or like you said, surveys or debt
Mhm.
collections. I've never had any of those calls. Uh,
That's good.
so
That's good,
yeah,
Steve.
well, I didn't, my phone had been turned off, so but but that was right after college. But
Got it.
but that's very intriguing as well that you have
Mhm.
that database. So basically, if I wanted to get that, it would be like, this is the whole database. Here's here's
Yes.
you just upload it and off you go.
Absolutely. Yeah. And in the medical context, I think it satisfies HIPAA requirements if they're calling a caller and saying, Steve Newell has an appointment with Dr. Hoover, and it identifies you and identifies the person you're there to see. And I think it probably satisfies some HIPAA requirements if they verify that's you receiving the call. But yeah, it has a lot of different applications. There were some strange names. I remember voicing pine cone. That's somebody's name. Cupcake. There was Cupcake in there as well. So very strange. Luckily, it wasn't alphabetical because I think I probably would have lost my mind going, oh no, I'm only on the letter D. That would have been, yeah, bad.
Well, this has been very intriguing. Allison, obviously a lot to think about. And I hope that the people understand the advantage of really tightening up their IVR presentation to making it. One thing you said that I thought was very interesting is making it consistent throughout the whole experience. And it is true. I mean, you have different people voicing different things over time. And, if you've been in business with your call center for, 5, 10 years, it's like, it's all over the place. Janie's
Yes.
gone and now Johnny's doing it and so on and so forth. And they're just picking up the phone and, the dog's barking in the background and all this other
Right.
stuff.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah, that really does lend credibility and professionalism to the call center. So I can definitely see that. And so this is very, very intriguing. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's been great fun.
Yeah, I'm scouting all the time. I'm looking at I'm doing webinars all week long with different products and different situations, and we kind of ran into each other. And I thought, this is something that I think that our folks really need to know about, and because it's not talked about a lot, but it is very, very important. It's one of those subtle things that kind of fly under the radar that can really elevate your call center's professionalism if you pay
Absolutely.
attention to it and invest in it. And so I really thank you, Allison, for joining us today, and
Thank you
thank
so
everyone
much.
else for joining. And we'll go ahead and get this recording out tomorrow to everyone else. But again, thank you so much, and I'll make sure and put Allison's information into the email that I send out with this recording tomorrow, so that if you want to contact Allison about upgrading your IVR voice and giving your customers the ability to say, listen, I have a contact that can handle your on hold message and make it the most professional, the most recognized voice in the industry, the most professional. I can definitely set that up for you, which I know will give my clients a lot of credibility and basically ease the mind of their end clients. So thank you again so much, Allison, for
Thanks,
joining us
Steve.
today, and thank you everyone else for joining us today. And we will see you very soon. Take care now.